Welcome to Season 3 of the Take the Leap podcast. We want to thank you for being a part of this journey with us.
Whether you're just starting to tune in or you're a longtime listener of the podcast, you can expect to hear from entrepreneurs in all stages of their journey, how they got to where they are, and all the mistakes and victories they've had along the way.
We're excited to share new guests and have some returning folks from our first 2 seasons. Thank you for being here, and we hope you enjoy this episode.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Take the Leap podcast. We're so excited to be here with a brand new guest today. We're here with Drew Norton, who's known as the Everyday Sales Leader and is a dynamic self-development coach, sales consultant, and co-host of the Everyday Leader podcast. With a background spanning sales, hiring, recruiting, leadership, and training across diverse industries, he's a seasoned expert in cultivating individual and organizational success. His career journey encompasses a proven track record in sales, and he's passionate about translating his wealth of knowledge into actionable insights, empowering others to achieve their career aspirations in sales and leadership. Welcome, Drew. We're so excited to have you today.
Yeah, I'm excited to be on and excited to share my story with you and your listener and hopefully bring some value to them.
Awesome. Well, we usually kind of kick this off in the same way, and we always ask our guests, especially our first time guests, what is your take the leap story? Meaning, what encouraged you, inspired you to take that leap into entrepreneurship?
I've kind of had 2 take the leap moments in my life, so I'll share both of those. So as you kind of said, I've had a background in sales. I've spent most of my career as a sales rep and leading and running sales teams. Um, I the first leap was I was I got started actually in the door to door space. So got started in door to door and got to a point where I felt like, oh, I need to get a real job now. And so went into the insurance agency or insurance business and ran a couple insurance agencies that I led for 5 or 6 years. The intention was actually to buy the businesses from my boss at the time, and it wasn't going as quickly as I wanted it to. So after several years, in fact, he treated me well, paid me more and more every year. At the year I walked away, it was early in my career, I was finally making 6 figures and thought, man, 5 years ago, this would have been like, I would have been just so happy to be here that I can't even imagine that I'm like thinking about doing something different. And I've always had a love for real estate. I'm also a real estate investor, mostly passively, and wanted to get into that more. And just had a brother that was still doing direct sales, doing it in the door to door space. And I talked to him one day, and he made about in a quarter about what I was making a year, and I was like, okay, maybe I want to go back to this or go to this. But it meant I was going to have to walk away from a guaranteed salary. I was going to have to walk away from a potential business I could buy, going to have to walk away from a lot of things that what I thought was going to be maybe my dream and where I was going for. And I remember just having conversations with my wife about, maybe do I do some of this on the side? How am I going to get there? How am I going to do this? And one day I just said, well, what if I quit and walked away? And there's just like a moment of like just relief where I was like, oh, that's it. And I just knew, okay, time to do this. And so that was step one. That was the first time, and led to a lot of success. And I was an independent contractor, so in a lot of ways I was working on my own and very much in control of my schedule and my life. And ended up aligning with an organization that I really loved, and I became their top sales rep, and had a lot of success doing that, and then created the top team in the company, and got to a point where my teams were doing probably about 20 million in sales revenue a year.
Wow.
So big asset for our company. And I just couldn't see a path for me to move forward and progress. I didn't see that for my reps, and I love the people and felt a calling that, hey, what I've found in sales, I love sales. I love the thrill of doing sales. I also really love helping see other people do it. And so like I had, for example, a couple of young men that I had been their young men's leader at our church. They came and worked for me and were making six figures. And I had way more fun taking guys that were making minimum wage and helping them really go out and really do well. And got more satisfaction in that I decided, hey, you know what? I want to go help business owners and people grow themselves, grow their teams, grow their sales. And so I then made another leap and decided, hey, I'm going to walk away from everything I've built and go start coaching and training other people. And was, once again, it's a scary, it's always scary to do that. And I can say it's like each time I've done that, it's been the most rewarding, fulfilling thing to go follow something I feel called to do.
That's really cool.
That's an amazing story. And I know we do this a lot where we talk at the same time to react and respond. But one of the things that I was thinking about is you kind of like hit the ceiling every place. And so you almost like moved the bar for yourself again. And I think that is something that you only get really in entrepreneurship, is you get to choose where that bar of success is, because you're the one who gets to set it. Whereas like in, when you're working in a company, there is only, certain levels. And, quite frankly, they'll only pay you so much because there's only, they have set the limit on what that is. So that is really cool that even though it was scary, you still choose the choice to follow kind of your bigger purpose and your bigger why. So that's awesome.
Absolutely. And I also feel like this is like a common trend and a common personality trait with entrepreneurs, where we're like, yeah, we can't go any further and we really want to, or we want to make our own decisions. We want to make other things happen. So I guess we just have to go out on our own because that's the only way we're going to make it happen.
Well, it's interesting you say that. I was talking to one of my best friends the other day, and he's a serial entrepreneur. We talk about, do we have squirrel brain, or are we just like getting bored and chasing something new? And I think he was kind of having the same thing, dealing with some limiting beliefs. Hey, I feel like I'm making a move again. Am I just not successful, or am I in the wrong thing? And I think sometimes it's just the alignment. Like I think it's okay some people are starters, some people are builders, some people's best role is to come into a place where things are set and do that. Some people love the thrill of building. And so I think sometimes it's just getting alignment with what it is that fills you up, and you can find success in different areas of business or even inside organizations.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I know a lot of friends who are like, oh God, I could never do that. I could never, work for myself. I have no discipline at all. I need, they need the structure and the rigidity. And I was like, that's fair. You will probably never do this, but I can't do the internal anymore. It's too frustrating. So, well, I have our next question. So knowing what you do, what you know now, having, been in this for a while, what piece of advice would you give yourself when you first started, started out in your entrepreneurial journey?
One is find a tribe, whether that's, or find other people. I've at times felt like, hey, entrepreneurship is this lonely thing and no one knows what I'm going through except for all the other entrepreneurs that are doing the exact
Yep.
same thing that I am. So whether that's, going to the networking events, or joining a mastermind, or hiring a coach, or finding someone who's, and look, if you're new and you don't have the income to go out and hire a coach, it's like sometimes you can find someone who's been doing it for 20 years that if you pay for their lunch, they're just happy to like give you some support and give you some help. And so I think I've made the mistake at times believing I've got to do everything on my own, where things have gone the fastest. Even if I've like taken the leap on my own, so to speak, it's like I can still create partnerships, I can still create relationships, I can still find others that are going through some of the same struggles that I am and will continue to go through. So you don't have that feeling of like, hey, I'm doing this all by myself.
That's a really good reminder. Even like now, at this point in my entrepreneurial journey. Wow, that was a difficult word today. I just feel like it's, I'm a solopreneur, and I know a lot of entrepreneurs are, and so it's it's hard to remember sometimes that there is life outside of the little bubble that I have
Mm.
here, and there's other people who are doing the same exact thing. And so I'm so thankful for Ashlan. You know, we have this podcast together. We both have our own separate businesses, but we've partnered together on this, and we've done other things together. And we have like little groups of people that we've just gotten to know um, throughout our journey. And I think it's so helpful to have other people in your corner, because this is a very unique experience, I feel like, to just entrepreneurs. Like talking to my mom about this really is like,
Mm.
well, my mom is an entrepreneur. That's a bad example. But like talking to like, my sister, or like,
Right.
just like a random friend, who doesn't go through this. It's, they might be able to empathize, and they might be like, oh, that sucks. But, like having somebody who's been through it before too, and just knows what you're going through at the end of the day is just so helpful.
Yeah. I mean, I resonate with that so much, because like my dad, he's, in a lot of ways, is for a lot of parents, or a lot of people, your parents are your idols, or who you look up to. And he worked the same job for 40 years, just retired. Like there's things, as much as I go to him for advice in my life, that it's like, on the business side, there's just some things he hasn't experienced. So it can be lonely, even when you've got great family, great friends, if
Yeah.
they're not in that same role. So I think it's just, I've just found there's so many other good people that want to support you and help you, even if you aren't necessarily in business together.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, having that support network too is just so helpful. Like I think there was this old kind of theory that, oh, it's cutthroat. You can't have the same, your competition. You can't have the same kind of business. But I have found that even folks like, I mean, Tori and I do very similar things in our marketing businesses, and we don't ever look at each other as competition. We're just like, oh, hey, here's something you've got going on. How could it be better? Or just even like sharing like referrals and leads and things like that. It doesn't need to be so cutthroat out there, which I love. I love hearing other people say that, because it reinforces that is a false stereotype that we all need to compete for that same pie as well. So yeah.
I think there's plenty of business to go around, and the more you collaborate, the more ideas you come up with.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It's kind
Absolutely.
of my motto. Awesome. Well, kind of our last question before we get into the hot seat questions. What is your why? Why do you do what you do?
It's changed over time. I used to, my why used to be, I wanted time, or I wanted freedom. And I felt like freedom came with time and money. And what's really funny now is it's interesting when you ask people, like, talk about what you want, and you can't say time or money. Sometimes it becomes really difficult for people to to answer those things. Um, and so where I felt like freedom might have been the answer, I used to say, or used to what drives me. It's changed now to where it's like, I want to just be, my why is to be present with my family, to be just really focused on the priorities in my life, my faith, my family, my health. And so those things have become my why, because what I realized, one, and when I told myself I wanted more time, if I was able to free up time, I usually couldn't sit still, and ended up
Doing
finding more to
something.
do anyways.
Yeah.
And then I've also found, like, there's been times where I've made a lot of money, and there's times where I've made very little and been stressed out and not happy in both of those circumstances. And so,
Yeah.
so for me, it's kind of just been this shift in like, hey, can I be at peace when things are quiet? Can I be at peace in the moment? And I've got work to do still on that. I'd love to say like, hey, that's I never have anxiety. I never have stress. No,
Right.
it's still there. And I've just learned, like, hey, regardless of the circumstances and what's going on in my life, like, I can find happiness and peace, and it's a choice to have those. And it's not something that, hey, I've got to build something for 20, 30 years before I can get.
That's such a good life lesson, to be happy with what you have, and not,
Yeah.
and know that there's going to be that like ebb and flow in life. And so it's just more of like how you manage those moments instead of stressing about it.
Yeah. And one way I've kind of looked at it now, because as an entrepreneur, you're usually driven by some external things, whether it's to get to a certain amount of revenue or a certain number of clients or to hit some metric. And so what's kind of helped me still have something to chase, so to speak, because I'm very much like with a sales background, I'm very much someone that put the
There's a
put
number. There's always a number.
the
Yeah.
stick for me to chase is, I think, always going to be really helpful for my personality. And so I've just kind of separated like, hey, I can choose to be happy, I can choose to be present, I can choose to find peace in my life. And at the same time, I can play a game that's really fun. And this is just the game I'm choosing to play right now. And sometimes the game's going to go great and I'm going to have success. And sometimes it's going to just be an awesome learning experience at times. And if it's not a success and I learn from it, well, then I can pivot and move and do something else.
Yeah. I love that. That's such a good answer. And yeah, success is not linear.
Right.
It changes all the time. And that's, I think, one of the biggest traits of being an entrepreneur is being able to adapt and adjust as things go.
Yeah,
Awesome.
totally.
Well, we're gonna kick it off into our hot seat questions. So I always ask I always start it off with the first question, the same one every time, and that is, what is the best and or worst advice you've received in your career?
Oh, best and worst advice.
Mhm.
Okay. I don't know if I could let me start with the worst. And I have found the worst advice usually comes from people who've never done what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
So I don't think I have something specific, but it's like, um, the person who's never started a business, they're usually going to give you the worst advice on starting a business.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I can. I'm going to probably wake up in the middle of the night with something I wish I'd shared.
You should message us. You should send it to us
Yeah.
afterwards.
We get some good, good answers.
And I think some of the best advice I've received. Actually, this is one thing I can share that I remember seeking some career advice from my dad. And once again, my family's very faith driven, but he made the comment. I was in the middle of trying to decide one of these jumps and asking for his advice. And he said, I don't know if God cares so much about what you do, but how you do it. And so I think sometimes it's like whether someone believes in God or not, it's like you can choose if your listener's in the middle of like taking the entrepreneur leap. It's like, if you stay, make it like, be the best employee you could be, like show up and be somebody that others would look to as a leader or be grateful for their time and experience. And if you take the leap, go give that 100%. So be where you're at.
I like that. Yeah, that's really good advice. I really like that.
That is really good advice. Thanks, Dad.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to pivot slightly and to dig in a little bit more into the sales background. So, most business owners are the first salesperson in the organization. What are some common mistakes you see them make as they, and are they different? Okay, wait, let me start that over. What are some common mistakes you see them make, and are they different than what you see sales folks make that they eventually hire?
Okay. Yeah. Great question. So I would say, well, my pet peeve is hearing a business owner say, I don't sell anything. Because it's like, yes, you do.
Even service providers sell things.
Right.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have a business if you didn't have something to sell. Now, the way you frame that or the way you sell yourself may not feel like, hey, I don't do it the way the used car salesman did that I had a bad experience with. And in fact, part of why I say that is I used to struggle with that. Like, I used to, if you asked me what I did, it was anything and everything but sales. I wouldn't. And I think there's just a stigma that comes with sales. And I would say the second mistake is outsourcing sales too fast. If you're a new business owner, because often no one's going to show up with more passion and more care and more commitment and more desire to help and serve the clients than you as the business owner. And so
Yeah.
sometimes you think, well, if I just offload sales, I can go take care of the service, or I can handle the back end stuff. And I think that's actually the stuff you offload first. Is like you hire the
Yeah.
technician first, or you hire the accountant or the bookkeeper or the admin assistant first, and you stay in sales until, hey, for us to continue to grow and scale, I've got to get that second salesperson.
Mhm.
And then I guess the second part of your question was, do the salespeople make those same mistakes?
Yeah. Yeah. Are they different, the mistakes that the owner versus the salesperson makes?
I think uh, I think they are usually different. Often the salespeople, their problem is they get into business and they're not organized enough to handle the processes and systems and all of that. And so it is really important for them. They both need the same people and probably hire in the same order. But their problem is probably not recognizing that and doing things on their own too often. And
Yeah.
it's easy as a salesperson to kind of be a lone wolf and do things on your own. So,
Yeah.
so I believe it's different problems. Maybe it's not, but that's been my experience.
Yeah. It's
That makes
really
sense.
interesting that you say to do, because I do notice that a lot of, or at least business owners that I've worked with, they want to get that icky sales thing off their plate like so fast. And they
Mm.
do try to hand it to the marketing people. And I was like, no, 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 no,
Yep.
no. We are sales enablement. I am not going to sell for
You're just
you.
getting
Like
started.
you, yeah. I was like, I'm here to help. Like, I want to know what the objections were. I want to know all these things so I can make these pretty brochures and this information that goes out for you. But it is really interesting you say that, because I do notice, like, I mean, I get sold all the time, all these like lead gen people who are like, I will get you sales qualified leads. And I was like, you don't even know what I do. Like, and you don't even know how different it is. And so I do think that that is important to to have that understanding. And, we get sold that all the time, that somebody else will manage this for you, but you need to have a good handle on it first before you can even give it away. As well. So yeah. Can I cut in with another question, Tori, before we move on to
Yeah,
yours?
go for it.
I'm curious how you've seen AI impact sales strategy in your business, or in just how you're working with folks now.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see your guys' experience on this too. I think in some ways AI is helping sales in the sense it's taking, it's in some ways streamlining and making things more efficient, and taking for example, you can have a pretty good AI chatbot that can answer some initial questions
Yeah.
on your website, or even maybe take a phone call and start the conversation, which is kind of scary. And
Yeah.
at the same time, I feel like high value, um, high ticket relationships are going to be, I think sales is going to become even more important in a world full of AI, where people are going to want to talk to a person. They want to know it's authentic. They want to know that it's real.
Mhm.
So in some ways I see it actually increasing the need for people to continue to develop in their ability to sell and communicate with other people.
Yeah.
And in some ways it's like, I'm kind of scared for my kids. Are they going to grow up in a world where every text message they put through Chat GPT or Gemini before they
Before they said anything, yeah, they're
yeah,
letting everything. Yeah.
right. So
It's actually interesting. I don't know how old your kids are, but I went to a conference about higher ed, and they were saying like the new incoming freshmen would actually rather not talk to a person. They would rather talk to an
mm,
AI and get their questions answered about, like how to apply, how to get scholarships, all of that. They would rather talk to an AI. Like I think it was something like 80% or 83% of kids said that. And I was like, that is wild that they don't want
I
to
would
have a
much rather
conversation.
talk to a person.
Yeah.
I feel like I get a straight answer
Mhm.
quicker with a person.
Yeah. But it's interesting that it's such a generational difference of
Yeah.
how to do that. So
It
yeah.
makes sense. Well, and just kind of spiraling off of what you just said, I think from a marketing standpoint, we're kind of having like those same conversations with our clients of
mm,
you're not going to stand out by like AI is so helpful in so many ways, especially for small businesses and solopreneurs. But when it comes to connecting with your audience, when it comes to connecting with your clients and customers, there needs to be that human element, that relationship piece to all of what you do. Otherwise, you're not going to stand out. You're not going to make the sale. You're not going to continue to have repeat customers if you don't have that in your marketing strategy.
Yeah.
I agree.
So it's a really good point.
Yeah.
Really good point. Yeah, I feel like we could talk about that we could go on a tangent and talk about that for a very long time. There's lots there. Lots there. But kind of spiraling a little bit off of your last question, you had kind of touched on this a little bit. Many people think of sales as, equaling pressure, right? And I've just kind of looked in research for this conversation. You really emphasize integrity and trust and ethics in sales. And so I was wondering if maybe you could kind of unpack that a little bit, especially for the entrepreneur or person that just really hates that like traditional sales pitch.
Yeah. I first off, like to me, my integrity, the ability for people to trust me means everything. I can't sleep at night. I mean, I remember one or two times early in my career saying something to a customer that I then realized was wrong. And it's like, wasn't even a big deal, but it's like, it ate me up inside. And so I've always wanted those I work with to have a great experience, because if they do, they tend to give you referrals. It leads to more business. It's just like taking care of people is so important. And at the same time, it's like there's some of people in the sales world that talk about like, you got to be a closer. You got to twist people's arms. You got to make them decide. And what I've come to experience is, if I can do a great job of showing up free, showing up, hey, whether or not you do this, I'm going to be good. At the end of the day, I'm here to help you. If I can help you, I'm going to help you. If I can't, I'm going to give you some recommendations or point you somewhere else. When you show up that way, people feel it, especially like you have to mean it. And then two, like, hey, it's okay for some people to not be a good fit, but if they are a good fit, like I have a moral obligation to help you work through why you need to move forward with this. And I think if we truly believe in our product or service, then it's okay to be bold. It's okay to, it's okay to help somebody make a decision. And so to me, it's like what really helps me and what's helped me feel strong and confident and want to change the way other people see sales is, I really see it's about helping someone go through a journey of self-discovery where they recognize, if I don't make a change, I'm going to be way worse off. If I don't move forward with your product or service, it's actually going to be worse for me. And you can tell someone that. It's way more powerful when you ask good questions, when you reflect things back to people and get people to actually say out loud the consequences of what they're choosing to do, because a lot of times they'll make the realization for themselves.
Yeah.
I love that.
That's great. I think that is so important too. I used to work for an agency where we could like make commissions off of our clients and things like that. And one of the things that I was always trying to do is like not to force people into stuff too early, because they weren't ready for it yet. And they didn't have that trust in you, right? Like, so it was much better to like work with the client for 3 months instead of like immediately trying to sell them like, oh, by the way, do you know we have this other, we've been only working together for 2 weeks, but I want to sell you this next thing so I can make my, my bonus and whatnot. And I was always great at being able to like sell the bigger package of something, because after you've been working with somebody for 3 months, oh, it totally makes sense. Like if you tell them like, oh, one of the reasons that your ads are not working so well is because your SEO is kind of crap on the website. And we don't do that for you right now. So if you let us do that, we could actually improve everything. And so like I had a few clients who are like, oh, really? You could do that for me? Great. Let's sign on for a year. And I was like, sweet, that's a lot of money. And also it's going to help you in the long run,
Well, I think that's the key, right? Like, I think I've at the same time heard people say, well, I don't want them to think I'm just trying to sell them something else. It's like, well, sure. And if they don't need it, then don't.
They don't need it.
And if the whole reason things aren't converting is because they need your help with SEO, you'd be doing them a disservice not to show them that and
to mention it. Yeah.
At least give them the option to make a choice.
Yeah. And slowly just unwinding that too. Cause I think a lot of times people who are seeking a service, they think it's like one thing and you're like, cool, we can handle the one thing. But it's like when you go to the doctor's office, be like, okay, this is the diagnosis, but you could also like diet, exercise, do all of these things, too. Like we can give you the pill, but also if you did all this stuff, it would be way better for your life as well.
Yeah.
So yeah.
More holistic.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. Yeah, that's a really good point. I'm going to kind of shift a little bit now. So Ashlan and I both actually have a lot of experience working with small businesses, but we also work with a lot of nonprofits and like mission-driven businesses. So I kind of just wanted to get your take on like the principles that you teach on sales and how to apply them in business. Do you think those things would apply to nonprofits and mission-driven places? And like, why would that be important?
Totally. I believe that sales is it's communication, it's influence, and so whether you're for profit or not, I mean, it's sales when I try to get my kids to eat their broccoli at night, like right, like
If you
maybe
figured out how
maybe
to
I'm
do
not getting
that,
the
let me know.
commission, right? Yeah, maybe I'm not getting the commission for that. And um, what's interesting too is too often we think people will buy our product or service because it makes logical sense, and that's actually usually what doesn't happen. So what's
Yeah.
really interesting is our brain is actually wired to keep us safe, not to make us happy. So and everybody sees this. If you're in a conversation, you ask for the customer to move forward. They tell you they want to think about it. They go to all the reasons they shouldn't. Like your brain's just wired to do that. And um, the way to get somebody to move is actually get them to connect emotionally with what they want. And so whether that's, hey, we have a nonprofit that helps, I don't know, helps there's a nonprofit I love called Give Power, and they do they use solar to get water to people in third world countries and in remote parts of the world. Where was I going with that? So it's like people move because of the pain they feel, because of the emotion that they feel, and then they'll justify the decision logically. And so instead of like, part of what you're looking for in sales is helping someone connect to the emotion, the joy, the happiness, the pain, the frustration. And when they're connected, if you can get them to act on that, they'll then tell you every reason why. It's like a good example of this is how often does you hear someone who bought something they're really excited about saying, "Oh man, he talked me into that. I'm so excited he talked me into that." No, they like, I chose to do this. And here's why I did it. And here's why it was such a great decision.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it was terrible, a lot of times people will defend their decision to do something because their brain's looking for a way to describe that. But we have heard people say, "Oh, when someone's not happy with a decision they made, oh, he did talk me into it. He did twist my arm. It was the salesman's fault." And so I think a
Yeah.
good salesperson is going to let you feel like you're making the decision because you're going to be connected emotionally to that and move forward. And so I think if you're selling a nonprofit, it's like that. You should be leading with emotion because that's a lot of people want to give and they want to provide and create opportunities for others and less fortunate. And so, yeah, I think it very much applies.
I love that.
Yeah. That totally makes sense too, because when you do get those folks who are like, I know I have many products that I am selling them to other people because I am so invested in, I made the decision, to use this product, and those kind of make the best, like when the person you sold it to then is now selling, to friends, family, colleagues, all of that. That's like the best way to go because they have that emotional like connection to the brand or to what they just bought. It's really important. And they don't have that buyer's remorse element where they're like, oh my gosh, why did I spend all this money? And all of that. Awesome. I have our last question, which we're asking all of our guests so that we can build it out on our website or in our blog or share as well, which is, what is a piece of media content, be it a song, a movie, a book, a podcast, that you are obsessed with or really digging right now?
Ooh, yeah. The one person I am following that I just was introduced to probably this last month that is really fascinating to me is his name is Chase Hughes. He's a body. He's rated the number one body language expert. Done work with the CIA. Talks a lot. He's like, it kind of goes off in some funny places, but like he's done work with like the CIA. He's gotten in with Colts to understand how Colts work and why they're so successful, to take the psychology behind it and how do we use those same principles for good. And so just a lot of really good content on the psychology. He's not necessarily a sales trainer, but if you are looking for help with sales specifically, a lot of his content is just fantastic.
Yeah.
So
That
yeah,
is really interesting too. Yeah. Body language expert. Because I mean, you can tell when you see somebody and you're just like, there's no way. They're just not ready for this right now. And pushing them is going to just make it like worse. Because that's,
and it's funny too, because a lot of times in sales, we're just worried about what we're saying. Like that's where most of the focus goes. And most of communication actually is nonverbal. It's tone and body language and all of that. So yeah, he's been fun for me specifically to follow. He's not the normal thing I'm diving into, and it's just been like one that's really fascinating to me right now.
I love that.
That's awesome. I'm gonna have to look that up.
Yeah.
I think that's really fun. Well, before we kind of wrap everything up here, is there anything that we didn't talk about today that you want to share with our listeners, and also let them know where they can find you?
Yeah. So I would love to end just by, I believe sales is life. I don't think you can't get better at your ability to sell and it not impact all areas of your life, whether that's relationships with your family, helping lead your teams. If you're making a strategic move with your team, you've got to sell your team on the vision of this is why we're doing what we're doing. And so I've just, if you go on my website, www.theeverydaysalesleader.com, I've got a story I share about almost losing our son and the lessons I learned from that, how we got through a difficult time because of that. Don't have time to dive into that today. And that's kind of where this idea sales is life came from. And then something to share with your listeners, if there are any that are looking for help building out their sales teams and sales processes, I have a quiz on my website or assessment you can take and a guide that can help you get started. So if you go to everydaysalesleader.com/quiz or text quiz to 928-928-5985, I'm happy to send you that assessment, give you a quiz, give you some resources to, hey, I'm trying to build my sales team. Give you some foundations on where you can go and start with that.
That's wonderful.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast and for sharing your story with our listeners. I know that this is like such a big topic for any small business or anything, like you said. And I think they're really going to find some good insights from listening to you. So thank you for being here, and thank you listeners for tuning in, and we'll see you again soon. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Take the Leap podcast. Check out our show notes to connect with us and our guests. If you have questions about the episode or ideas for future topics, send us a direct message on Instagram or email us at aloha@taketheleap-today.com. If you're interested in being a guest, fill out the guest interest form on our website.
If you're a new entrepreneur who is looking for a roadmap to move your business idea forward, check out the Take the Leap course on our website, taketheleap-today.com. Members who join the course also have an opportunity to join us in bi-weekly co-working and group coaching calls to build momentum and work on your business.
And if you'd like a flavor of what we offer, sign up for our free webinar with the 9 essential steps you need to launch your business with clarity and confidence. See you next time.